Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry.
To welcome you to this special session of the Aprecid Congress, where we will explore a deep and an essential connection, the link between soil health, food security, and human nutrition. And at Aprecid, we believe that everything begins with the soil. We see it not just as a productive resource, but as a living system, one that regulates water, stores carbon, supports biodiversity, and above all, makes life and health possible. In a world facing the challenges of feeding a growing population, tackling climate change, and improving public health, we believe soil is part of the solution to all of this at once. Healthy soils produce safer, more nutritious food. When soils are degraded, it impacts people's health. So speaking about soil is not only about agriculture. It's about health, resilience, and our shared future. That's why it's such a privilege to welcome Professor Rattan Lal today, a global leader in soil health, soil science, director of the Carbon Management and Sequestration Center at The Ohio State University, and co-leader, together with IICA, of the Living Soils of the Americas program. His work encourages us to look beyond yields and markets, and to imagine an agriculture that restores, protects, and connects farmers with the well-being of society as a whole. Professor Lal, we're truly honored to have you with us. We are listening closely.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and I greatly appreciate your kind flexibility in my accepting a virtual presentation. I tried to be present in person, but because of some issues related to flight cancellation and delays, I'm unable to be there. But I want to thank personally the organizers of the meeting, Ms. Melan Saluzio. I want to thank my colleague from IICA, Dr. Jorge Verdin, and of course, I want to thank the director of IICA, Dr. Manuel Otero, whose leadership, visionary leadership, has made tremendous difference in promoting best management practices of agriculture throughout the Latin America and the Caribbean region. I would have very much liked to be personally present and congratulate Dr. Otero for his accomplishment and commend him for what he has done, and hope that his leadership role will continue by him keeping in touch with IICA and others such as myself who are working with IICA in cooperation with them. So thank you, Dr. Otero. I do want to mention Aprecid and CAPAS. In 1989, Argentina No-Till Farmers Association called Aprecid was launched, and during 1990s, Farmers Association in Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Paraguay, and Uruguay coalesced into American Confederation of No-Till Farmers Association called CAPAS. So CAPAS has 11 permanent and invited members and representation of farmer association from USA, Canada, and other organizations. The Pampas of Argentina are very, very important part of the agriculture success story. They have area of 52 million hectare, terrain, large, flat, level plains, and the land is fertile soil, suitable for crops and livestock. Geology is tectonic basin filled with sediment from the Andes, and erosion, fine texture, vulnerable to water and wind erosion, and vegetation, originally grassland with no trees. Climate warm, temperate with mild summer, and temperature about 15 to 18 degrees centigrade, which is ideal in terms of the rainfall amount of 500 millimeter to 1100 millimeter. Therefore, agriculture, which was extensive until 1940, has been transformed into a global success, intensive farming after 1970. So Pampas is one of the 6 major grain-producing regions of the world, and therefore it's appropriate that we are today celebrating the success of Dr. Otero, who is obviously an important leader from the country and contributing to the Latin American regions. Transforming Pampas of Argentina into an atmospheric carbon sink is the goal. How to make adopt transfer from conventional to conservation agriculture, the wheat, soybean, corn, soybean rotation with cover cropping, with integrated nutrient management, leading to soil carbon storage in the subsoil where it has a longer residence time, and also leading to soil inorganic carbon sequestration, which is an important component of soil carbon in the arid and semi-arid regions. Therefore, agricultural land area in Latin America and Argentina has increased tremendously between 61 and 2022, as you can see, from by a factor of 2.63 in Latin America, from 68 million hectare to 178 million hectare. In Argentina, from 14.4 million hectare to 39.4 million hectare by a factor of 2.74. So there is a tremendous expansion of agriculture in these regions. The yield of many crops, for example, in Argentina, the yield of corn has gone up from 1.77 tons per hectare to 5.11 tons per hectare. The yield of soybean from almost 1 ton to 1.74 ton, and yield of wheat in Argentina from 1.3 to 2.3 ton. United States corn soybean yield is much higher, but Brazil is similar to that of Argentina, and in this case, the factor of increase in Brazil of corn yield between 61 and 2023 is 4.5 times, soybean yield 2.4 times, wheat yield 4.4 times. In the United States, the yield of corn increased 2.3 times, soybean doubled and wheat doubled, but in Argentina, the corn yield went up by a factor of 2.9, soybean by 1.8, and wheat yield by a factor of 1.8. Therefore, Argentina, Brazil, and the Latin American region, the so-called the cone of South America, is a tremendous success story. And I'd like to congratulate the farmers, land manager, the policymakers, and of course the APRICED and the CAPAs for this great success story. In terms of the agricultural production in million tons, from Argentina, it increased from 42 million tons in 1961 to 183 million tons. And in Latin America, from 378 million tons to 1839 million tons by a factor of almost 5, and Argentina by a factor of 4.4. So it is a great success story in terms of adoption of best management practices that indicates how the cooperation between IICA with leadership such as Dr. Manuel Otero, whose accomplishments we are celebrating today, is certainly a great success story. Adoption of no-till in Argentina between 1987-88 to at present, the percent area under no-till farming is almost 80%, which is one of the largest percent in terms of the no-till farming, and start with, we said, 87, 88 to now is probably a very important factor in that. At present, 78.5 million hectare and percent of the area, 78.5% of cropland area under no-till in Argentina from the agricultural point of view. And consequently, the yield of different crops has gone up. The total production of corn, of soybean and many other crops, rice, peanut, sorghum, sunflower seed, barley, the wheat, the soybean and corn, they have all gone up tremendously. And at present in 2025-2026, the marketing year, the productivity of Argentina is certainly an exemplary success story. However, agricultural production aside, the future lies in addressing some of the issues of environmental degradation that have also happened because of agricultural intensification in the Pampas and other parts of Latin America. Accelerated soil erosion, global warming, greenhouse gas emissions from agricultural activities, the drought and change in rainfall patterns due to accelerated human anthropogenic warming, the depletion of soil organic matter, soil nitrogen loss in agroecosystems, and loss of biodiversity. Now, these are the challenges that should be, must be, can be, and will be addressed by adoption of better agriculture practices, by leadership of APRISET, the meetings such as we are discussing now. I'm sure these discussions and the meeting, the 23rd APRISET meeting, will lead to addressing these issues so that agriculture can continue to make positive impact. In addition to soil degradation, of course, we also have agricultural emissions of greenhouse gases. For example, agri-food systems, agricultural soils, the IPCC emission in Argentina, agricultural soils emission million ton of CO2 equivalent about 43. It was 23, 24 and 61. It's 43 million ton CO2 equivalent from agricultural soil in Argentina in 2020s at present. So these challenges include high annual loss of soil organic matter at field level, which is because of the management of soil and because of exposure to agricultural practices of intensification, depletion of soil organic matter leading to sustainability at the paddock and farm level, which need to be improved. There are high risks of erosion and contamination, which can be, should be, and I'm sure they will be addressed. And the area under soybean cultivation in many countries has increased. Uruguay is a very good example, increased 1,000% between 1990 and 2020. So the reason I'm mentioning these because the soil degradation has also impact on human health because of what we call the One Health concept, which states that the health of soil, plants, animal, human, environment, and the planet is interconnected, is one and indivisible. Therefore, in addition to socio-economic factors, food security research in Argentina, in the Pampas, in the Latin America region as a whole, and globally, this research must also address environmental and resource management issues because of the interconnectivity, because of the One Health concept. And now coming back to what the introduction of this session very rightfully said, how the diet and human health are interrelated and how that need to be addressed. And some of the ancient cultures indicate, for example, that when diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. And when diet is correct, medicine is of no need. And that good diet comes from healthy soil. Therefore, the importance of healthy soil. And Hippocrates in 400 BC stated, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." So food is medicine. I'm pleased to indicate year, in 2025, me and a colleague from Ohio State in oncology, Dr. Mariam Hussain, are publishing a book with the title Food is Medicine. And that's exactly what Hippocrates said about 3,000 years ago, that food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Diet and human health are interrelated. Good food is a good medicine, and good food comes from good soil. And good soil is maintained by healthy management practices, by best management practices. So good food is a good medicine that can prevent, reverse, and even cure disease. So said Heyman. Diet and the environment are interrelated. Consumption of healthy and sustainable diet, including, for example, coarse grains, pulses, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, improve health, reduces greenhouse gas emissions, conserves water resources, and strengthens biodiversity. It is indeed a win-win-win-win choice. Win raised to the power of 4 choice. There are so many environmental benefits. So healthy diet has many environmental benefits. Bread and divinity are interrelated also. For example, the fire that burns in the pit of an empty stomach, and there are 733 million people globally which do not have enough to eat at present, and that number is increasing because of the global political issues. And yet, Pampa's success story is a great thing which should be multiplied around so that this problem of food insecurity can be quenched by the divine powers in a loaf of bread made from grains grown in a healthy soil. So eventually it comes down to how to maintain soil health from which good food can be produced. Some people have gone even further to say that God dare not appear in front of a hungry person as an entity other than the avatar in the form of a loaf of bread made from grains grown on a healthy soil. So good food grown on a healthy soil, such as those in the best management practice in the campus and elsewhere, is really a form of God in itself. Food is God. And that godliness of food comes from healthy soil. And healthy soils refer to soil's capacity as a dynamic and biologically active entity to sustain multiple ecosystem services for human and nature. Human are part of nature. Therefore, if we maintain nature, soil, water, biodiversity, landscape, environment, then all the living beings dependent on healthy soils are also healthy. And this can be achieved by regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture is a concept, it's a philosophy, it's a strategy, it's an approach, it's an ideology. It's not one practice. There are many practices. And this ideology is inspired by eco-innovation. It's powered by non-carbon energy. It's driven by a circular economy and green infrastructure, and supported by the recarbonization of the terrestrial biosphere at the bedrock of sustainable development. So the carbon that we have lost from soil after converting pampas, natural vegetation, to agricultural land and elsewhere in the world should be restored back into the soil. Because soil organic matter, which is the essential to soil health, is the elixir of life, is the recipe of the life. It is the heart of soil health, and therefore life depends on it. So managing soil carbon and restoring soil health by regenerative agriculture means continued soil cover, no soil disturbance like no-till farming, integrated nutrient management, that means combination of organic and inorganic fertilizer, and of course complex rotation and cover crop managed such a way which restores soil organic carbon but at the same time produce more from less land, less water, less input of fertilizer and chemical, less use of energy, less emission of greenhouse gases. That means improving the use efficiency of input, making agriculture more productive. That is what the idea of producing more from less implies. So objectives of the episode encompass, which as I said began in the 80s, to develop and promote farming models that allow the achievement of improved productivity and competitiveness in the short term while moving towards a level of agriculture that's more sustainable than that practiced previously. And certainly Pampas agriculture is a success story. The Argentina in no-till farming system under the leadership and cooperation of HEPRISED is a system known as modern, sustainable, highly productive and profitable agriculture model, MOSPA in short. So the policy of agriculture by the government and policymakers in the Argentinian region, in the Latin American region as a whole, where IICA works in most of these countries, has been to maximize the biophysical productivity, to minimize the damage to the environment and soil, to maintain quality of life at the farm level, to create negative emission from agriculture, negative emission, not emission neutral, negative emission, and promote, of course, carbon farming. Carbon farming means growing carbon and at the same time conserving the environment. The agricultural export in Argentina, $53 billion in 2022. Crop production from 1960 to 22, $7.5 billion to $45 billion. Or seed production from 60 to 2020, every year increasing 3%, 10% of crop output in 60, 45% in 2020. Livestock production increased 1.3% per year by best agricultural land restorative productivity. A great success story, an example to be followed everywhere else in the world. So carbon farming then, how does that fit in within the current system of very good agriculture being adopted in Argentina and elsewhere in Latin American region where IICA has been working? Carbon farming means management of carbon pools, flows and greenhouse gas fluxes at farm level with the purpose of mitigating climate change. And this involves three greenhouse gases: CO2, carbon dioxide, methane, CH4, and N2O. So therefore, carbon farming includes management of both materials and vegetation, plus fluxes of carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. The idea is, basic principle is that the crop residue, both above ground and below ground, is being transformed by biochemical transformation through the input of nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur to humus. And this transformation requires additional nutrients. Why? Because the CN ratio in crop residue is about 100. In the humus, it's 12. The C to P ratio in residue is about 200. In humus, it's 50. The C to S ratio in the residue is 500. In humus, it's 70. Therefore, carbon sequestration, that means transformation of residue carbon to humus carbon, require additional nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, and other nutrients. This additional nutrient requirement can enhance the technical potential of carbon sequestration in soils of the world. There are many colleagues, I know Martin de Azorita and many other excellent soil scientists who have evaluated rate of carbon sequestration in soils and evaluated the impact of carbon sequestration on crop yield. But on a global scale, if you extrapolate the data from Argentina to globally, which sometimes is over extrapolation, but for the sake of example, soils of the world, if managed properly, have technical potential of sequestering 2.5 petagram, billion metric ton, 10 to the 15 gram of carbon per year in soil, if they are managed properly. the terrestrial ecosystem between now and 2100, next 75 years. Soil have a capacity to sequester about 180 petagram, billion tons, 10 to the 15 gram. Vegetation another 155, total about 333 petagram, which translates to drawdown of atmospheric CO2 of 157 parts per million. Therefore, if we can find alternative to fossil fuel, and if we can manage the soils of agroecosystem properly, keeping global warming to less than 2 degrees centigrade is still possible through better agriculture. However, to do this, we must pay farmers, and we should pay them according to the social value. And the social value in 2010, I calculated that, it was published as in an article, was about $35 per credit. And credit is 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent. At present, in 2025, the cost is about $50 per credit. $50 per credit. Today, in fact, I was reading an article where per credit cost was assumed to be even better than $50. But I think at least the farmer should get $50 per credit. In this connection, the private sector can play also an important role. The private sector can play a critical role in translating science into action by promoting nature-positive agriculture similar to those being adopted under IICA's management, coordination, cooperation throughout the Latin American region, including Argentina, increasing access to inputs, improving investment in agriculture research and development, and of course, enhancing education. Finally, I want to show this picture. I am native of India, and I am very pleased that the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi, visited Argentina just recently, and your President, and they signed several cooperative agreements. And I think this is the type of cooperation which we need to improve agriculture globally, and that's the only way to achieve global peace and prosperity and tranquility. Cooperation amongst people working together to solve the problem which are of global nature through peaceful means. Thank you very much for the opportunity of talking to you, and if there is a time, I'll be very glad to answer some questions.
Thank you very much for sharing your studies, your vision and experience with us. Your message reminds us that soil is much more than a productive base. It is the starting point of life, of food and of human health.
Thank you.
You've helped us to connect science with something deeply human. In Argentina, we are proud of our farmers, their innovation, their resilience, and their role in feeding not only our country, but the world. But your presentation invites us to take this even further, to understand that by caring for soil, farmers are also caring for people, for future generations, and for the planet. At Apresid, we see this every day, farmers who lead with conviction, adopting practices that protect, restores, and improve. So I'd like to ask you, what message would you share directly with Argentinian farmers that are here today listening to you?
Thank you. I want to congratulate Argentinian farmers. They have made an exemplary success in agriculture. They are helping in food export globally. They are protecting soil resources. They are mitigating climate change through better agriculture. So my first message is thank you. Congratulations. Please keep up the good work. My second message is there is a still need for improvement. And the improvement is how to improve the use efficiency of agriculture input. We need to use agriculture in such a way that is a solution to environmental issue. The improved agriculture being practiced in Argentina, in the Pampas and elsewhere, can be a solution to climate change. It can be a solution to water quality and renewability. It can be a solution to biodiversity. It can be a solution to elimination of hunger and malnutrition. It is a solution to advancing the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So I would appeal, request, make a suggestion to the farmers, please continue the good work and make agriculture a weapon for peace. Make agriculture a tool to achieve global peace and prosperity and advance sustainable development goal. I congratulate the farmers and the policymakers and the researchers and organizations such as IICA in making agriculture a tool which can not only provide food and nutrition security, but also address sustainable development goals on the whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lal, for your message, clear and full of meaning. I'd like to close by speaking directly to the farmers who are here with us today. What we heard reminds us of something powerful. Taking care of the soil is also taking care about people. It's about more than growing crops. It's about nourished families, protecting the planet, and building a better future. Many of you are already on this path, applying practices that conserve and protect. Others are just starting or still thinking about how to begin. The important thing is there is space for everyone in this journey. Every decision in the field counts. Every small change adds up. As farmers, you have a key role, not only in food production, but in building healthier, more sustainable communities. That's something to be proud of. So I invite you to keep exploring, keep learning, and above all, to believe in the value of what you do. Thank you for being here and for being part of this collective movement. Let's keep moving forward. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rattan Lal, for your words.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. It was a great meeting. Goodbye.